Hey guys, welcome to Conceptual Geometry, the Unit 4, Day 12 Worksession Solutions. Question number 1 says the image of the point 3, -6 when reflected in the x-axis is. If you've got your study guide handy, if you notice the rule for reflecting the x-axis is to negate the y. So what we have to do is take this coordinate here, negate the y, so that becomes a +6. The correct answer will be 3, 6. That's choice 4. Question 2, which of the following transformations is a dilation? Remember what a dilation does. It makes something bigger or smaller. That means you have to multiply both coordinates by the same number, and that's important. So notice here, 4, 2 goes to 6, 4. Well, 4 times what is 6? I'll tell you, it's not 2. And it would have to be 2 in order for that to be a dilation, so it's not this one. Here, we just negated the second one, so that's not a dilation. 4, 2, 2, 1. Now, it doesn't get bigger, but remember, when you multiply, you could multiply by something less than 1. So actually here, I multiplied by 1/2. 4 times 1/2 is 2. 2 times 1/2 is 1. So choice 3 is the dilation. Let's just rule out choice 4. Very similar to the one up above, except one's positive, one's negative, so he didn't multiply by the same one. Question 3, which figures, if any, have point symmetry? So that means it would be the same upside down. Yes. No. Here's why, because the point would come down here. So this does not, and clearly, yes, this does as well. So A and C only. Question 4, in which quadrant does the image of -2, -7 lie after reflection in the origin? So let's sketch that real quick. -2, -7 would be down here. When you reflect to the origin, you end up right there. Remember your quadrants, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that would be quadrant 1. Question 5, which of the following transformations does not preserve length? Or in other words, which one gets bigger or smaller? The only one that gets bigger or smaller is a dilation, so that'd be choice 4. Question 6, draw a rectangle and draw in all lines of symmetry. All right, so a rectangle has 4 right angles, opposite sides are equal. The lines of symmetry, there's a vertical line of symmetry, and there's a horizontal line of symmetry, and that's it. Diagonals will not work. Try and fold your paper on a diagonal so it folds on top of itself. It doesn't work. The corners don't match up. So those are the only 2 lines of symmetry. Question 6, find the image of the point -2, 6 under the rotation of 90 degrees about the origin. The rule for rotating 90 is you switch and negate the first one. All right, -yx. So what I have to do here is I have to switch these two and then negate the first one. So it should be -6, -2. Question 8, what are the coordinates of the point 5, 1 when reflected in the line y = 3? First thing we'll do here is plot the point 5, 1. Now the line y = 3, remember, crosses the y-axis at 3. So here's my y-axis. I have to cross that. It's a horizontal line. Y = 3. And how do you reflect this point? You have to travel to the line. So count those spaces, 2. Then you go 2 to the other side. It'll be that point right there. Those coordinates would be, here's your origin, remember. I mean, the axes are labeled, so that's okay. 5, 5. You can write it on the graph here if you'd like. Or you could write it over here, it doesn't matter. Question 9 says, sketch the image of triangle QRS under a dilation of scale factor 1/2. Label the image Q prime, R prime, S prime. Since the scale factor is 1/2, my new triangle is going to be smaller. Here is the center of dilation. So what we do is we draw in a dashed line from the point of dilation to the vertex, And then since my scale factor is half, I have to go half the distance and label the new point. So this approximately right there would be Q prime. Let's do the same thing here for R. Approximately halfway. There's R prime. And then S might be a little bit more challenging because it's kind of far away. And approximately halfway looks there, S prime. And then you just have to connect those. Again, it's freehand, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but you should notice that this new shape here is roughly half the size as our original. Question 10, we're going to apply our rules. It says find the image of -4, 3 under the following transformations. So reflection through the origin, you negate both. So I need to negate both of these. That becomes 4, -3. B, reflection in the x-axis is negate the y. So I just have to negate that one. That becomes -4, -3. Dilation of scale factor -2 means you multiply by -2. So I have to multiply both of those by a -2. A little bit challenging. You have to change the sign. So that'd be +8, -6. Translation means you add. So I add -1 to -4, and I add -8 to a +3. So -4 and a -1 is -5. A 3 and a -8 is also a -5. Reflecting in the line y equals x, the rule is switch. So I just have to switch those. That would be 3, -4. Rotation of 90, you switch and negate the first one, -yx. So switch these and then negate the first one. That becomes -3, -4. Reflecting in the line the y-axis, you negate the x. So I just have to negate the first one, which makes it positive. That's 4, 3. Rotation of 270 degrees, the rule is you switch and negate the second one. So I need to switch these and negate the second one. That becomes 3, 4. And the last one, a reflection in the line y equals -x, you switch and negate. All right, so I'll have to switch these two and negate both. So that becomes -3, +4. All right, moving on here. It says the vertices of triangle ice. I is -3, 1, C is -1, 0, and E is -1, 4. So the first thing I want to do is graph and state the coordinates of triangle ice. So let's do that first part. I is -3, 1. It's right here. C is -1, 0, right there. And E is -1, 4. Okay, and sketch in that triangle. So there's my original. Okay, so now what are we doing? It says, and its image, ice prime, under a line reflection in the y-axis. Now I need to state the coordinates as well. So I'll have an I prime, C prime, and an E prime. It's pretty easy to reflect in the y-axis. So visually, let me show you what we're doing. Here's your y-axis. So this point would go here, that point would go there, this point would go here, and you just sketch in something like that. Then you could write the coordinates. You can also come up with the coordinates first by applying your rule for reflecting the y-axis, which is to negate the x. So you can get those coordinates by taking these and negating the x in each one. All right, again, I don't care what order you do this in, but you need to come up with the coordinates and the picture. So what some students do is they use the rule to come up with these coordinates. Then they use the picture and get the points on the graph. Okay, so C prime would be here. E prime would be here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I prime would be there. And you just connect those. next part, it says, using the same graph, reflect triangle ice prime. So that's important. We're taking the new one, the red one, over the x-axis. All right, so again, if you want to come up with those coordinates reflecting the x-axis, you negate the y. So you can get those coordinates easily by taking all of these and just negating the y. So I double prime would be 3, -1. C double prime would be 1, 0, right? Because if you negate 0, you still get 0. E double prime would be 1, -4. Or, some of you prefer to be visual, here is your x-axis. I'm taking this triangle and reflecting it. So that would stay there. I comes down here, and then E goes there. Okay, so I just kind of did that real quick, but this point here would also be C double prime. This point here would be I double prime. Okay, and then E double prime has to go down 4 and then down 4 again. And there's E double prime. Then you just have to sketch that in. All right, now the follow-up question. It says, what single transformation is equivalent to a reflection in the y-axis followed by reflection over the x-axis? So what single thing could you do to go from this triangle here to this triangle here, right? And you have two choices. One of them is, I kind of just gave it away, you're reflecting through the origin. So that's one possible answer. Reflection in the origin. Or, because if you look at your study guide, that is equivalent to a rotation of 180 degrees. So you don't have to write both. One or the other would be fine. All right, last question. The vertices of triangle WAR are W is -2, 5, A is 0, 2, R is -3, 3. Graph triangle WAR. All right, so I'll do that down here. All right, W is -2, 5. So W would be right here. A is 0, 2, right there. And R is -3, 3, right here. All right, so there's my starting point. Now what are we going to do? It says graph and state the coordinates of triangle W prime, A prime, R prime, where W transforms to W prime under a translation of 4, 1. So if you want to be visual here, that's totally fine. That means right 4, and that means up 1. Now, if you'd rather get the coordinates first, you can also do that. W prime, A prime, R prime. What you would do to get the coordinates first is you have to add 4 to all of these x values. And you can even do it one at a time. So you could say, okay, W prime, I'm going to add 4 to that. That becomes a 2. Okay, the A prime, add 4 to that. That becomes a 4. And the R prime, add 4 to that. That becomes a 1. So you're doing the same thing 3 times. Now what I need to do is add 1 to all the y coordinates. All right, well, that's pretty easy. So the W prime, 5 plus 1, that would be a 6. The A prime, 2 plus 1, that would be 3. And the R prime, 3 plus 1, that would be 4. Then you could plot those points. Or you can just be visual from the beginning and take the triangle that you already have graphed and go right 4, up 1 with each of those points. So for each of these, I go right 4, up 1. So that's where A prime would go. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1. So A prime goes here. Take W, go right 4, up 1. There's W prime, and do the same thing for R. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1. There's R prime. And then just fill that in. Okay, next it says graph and state the coordinates of W double prime, A double prime, R double prime, where W prime becomes W double prime under the translation of 1, -5. So for this one, I'm going right 1, down 5. Okay, that's what those numbers mean. So I need to state the coordinates. W double prime, A double prime, and R double prime. So if you want to do this algebraically, kind of like we did up above, you're going to add 1 to all of these x coordinates. Okay, so that would become a 3, that become a 5, that become a 2. Then what you're going to do is subtract 5 from all of these y coordinates. Okay, well 6 minus 5 is 1, 3 minus 5 is negative 2, 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Then you can plot those points down below. Or if you're visual, you take our red triangle and you go right 1, down 5. Take the red triangle, go right 1, down 5. So I'll start with A. Right 1, down 5. That's A double prime. R, go right 1, down 5. There's R double prime. And then W, go right 1, down 5. W double prime. And connect those vertices. Part D, name the single transformation that's equivalent to the composition of the two translations. So basically it wants to know how could you go from the blue triangle to the green triangle in one translation. Well, we just have to pick one of the points. Let's say R. How'd you go from R to R double prime? Well, here's what we did. We had to go right and I had to go down. So it looks like I went right 5 and I went down 4. So remember, when you go down, that's a negative. So this will be a translation of 5, negative 4. That will be the answer. Now, if you're not a visual person, you can also just apply a little algebra. You could take these two translations and add them together. So look at what we get. Translation of 4, 1. Plus a translation of 1, negative 5. But what do you get when you add 4 plus 1? 5. So you could just do it that way. What do you get when you add 1 plus a negative 5? Negative 4. So I don't care which method you use, you just have to be able to come up with this translation. Okay, that completes the solution guide to the Unit 4 Day 12 work session. As usual, guys, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in class soon.